Interviewers, the Honorable Attorney Nesauro H. Firme.
Thank you, Attorney Marife. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Justice Chair.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay. So I and Justice Bambit were discussing earlier. Is there inordinate delay in sending mails? Okay. It's just a joke.
I wish there was none, but human beings, as we are, serving the whole Philippines from Apari to Hulo and the hinterlands of forests everywhere, barangay, I am afraid we are not up to par. We are not.
At any rate, these are actually my questions. No? Actually, Senator Alan Cayetano sent us a question earlier that we would ask the applicants. So his question, he would like to know your position regarding the lifestyle check. So recently you have heard the news about the president asking that all government officials undergo a lifestyle check. So what is your position on that?
Thank you, Your Honor. As I've said in the initial question, transparency is prime and foremost. A lifestyle check is part of it. You must open your heart and your pockets in order to show that you are transparent and you're really doing your job. No hidden agendas, no secret meetings, no under the tables. With that, I would believe that a man exercising it would have a very clear conscience, and when he faces God, he will face him eye to eye.
Okay. This will be my set of questions, Justice Chair. So if appointed as the Ombudsman, what can the stakeholders expect from you?
Again, please, I didn't hear that.
What can the stakeholders expect from you if ever appointed to the office?
I would do what the Constitution commands me to do. Protect government from graft and corruption, bribery, even treason. And then give my contribution. I know I'm not Superman and can do it all, but I would want to be a big player towards that end. And the Ombudsman would be a very, very effective tool in doing it.
So Justice, I was looking at your sifting through your records, your profile. So I noticed the accomplishment you had. So despite all those accomplishments, why do you still want to become an ombudsman?
Dispensing justice is my chosen career. I live, breathe, and sleep with it. And at my retirement stage, turning it off like a light bulb would be not good. So I want to contribute and give my share, my mandates, my morality, Your Honor.
So you've been a presidential appointee. When you became the CA Justice, you were appointed by President
Arroyo, Your Honor.
President Arroyo, and then you were appointed to this present post by President Marcos.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you have been a presidential appointee. So what makes you an apolitical person?
Because I have not been engaged in politics, if that's what apolitical means. But I have brushes with politicians. I mingle with them. I smell them, I eat with them. So basically, I know their territory, I know what's going on, and being an ombudsman, that would be an asset insofar as I'm concerned. Knowing the enemy, as the saying goes, keep your friends close, your enemies closer.
Would it somehow affect your independence, assuming you are now the ombudsman?
Independence.
Since you mentioned you know you dine with
Yes,
politicians.
I understand the question, Your Honor. Mingling with them is not conspiring with them. It's getting to know their ins and outs, so you could know better how to address them and solve problems related to them. Your Honor.
Yeah. How about integrity? Justice, we all know that integrity is one of the qualities demanded of the post. So was there an instance where your integrity, well, probably during your CA days or now at the pill post, where your integrity was put to test? And how did you navigate through that?
As I've said ago, during my Court of Appeals days, my integrity was put to test on the Ilocos 6 caper.
How about at the present post, Justice?
Here, the integrity, you must show it to them. They do not attack you unless you don't show you have the integrity to change them.
But was it tested during your stint here as the chairperson of the Pill Post?
So far, so good, Your Honor. Not yet.
So do you see any, next question, do you see any significant change in your life or lifestyle when you assume the post of the ombudsman? I understand you live a simple life right
Yes,
now.
it's being the chairman of the PhilPost is really going to board meetings twice a month. I don't go to office 9 to 5. I do policy making. I see to it that policies introduced are executed and everybody is treated fair. That's it, policy. I leave to the Postmaster General the nitty-gritties.
So, but in the ombudsman, you will be reporting.
I know, I am aware
So
of
that's
that.
that's one significant change.
And I am excited to do it.
So how about bodyguards?
Bodyguards, I mean,
You are probably aware that you will be having or given bodyguards.
well,
How do you cope with that change in your lifestyle?
I don't think it would be a great factor for my change. When I leave the house, they're there, but when I enter the house, they will disappear.
Okay. So Justice, how much do you value public perception?
Very much, because public perception is one of the key to success. It's an effect of what you do, because it's a cause and effect. If you do good, public perception will be there, good. When it's a bad public perception, you will think that you must be doing wrong somewhere, somehow. So you need to correct yourself. And 100% grade in a test would be a good public perception.
And sometimes also, public would perceive you to be bad, no, or doing something bad, even if you are doing something good. No? And on that note, I'd like to ask you, how would you take public criticisms?
With a grain of salt, if it's really just public criticism, just bear and grin. And just do your job.
So let us assume, Justice Chair, it's already 2029, and by then we are all aware that there will be a new president. Okay, so you were appointed by the present administration as the ombudsman. So tumawid ka to the next administration. So I'll give 5 things, and I would like you to rank them. No, 1 being the most significant, no, as far as you are concerned, 5 being the least significant. So number 1 would be the president that appointed you to the ombudsman post. Number 2 would be the incumbent president. It's 2029, no? Number 3 would be the public perception, the public, including public perception, which I understand you value also. And number 4, the safety of your family. No? You know that the ombudsman would have a lot of critics. Some of them would do something we would not want, no, to happen. And number 5, your personal goal, which I heard earlier that propelled you to apply to this position. So which do you think is the most significant and which is the least significant, no, in these 5?
I guess it's not that I would do it, because let me premise my answer first that my loyalty is to the Constitution and the country. The reverse of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we are also aware that there could be some or several persons that would help you get this post. You know? And some of these could be public officials, sitting public officials. So would you have the courage, the guts, the nerves to file criminal and administrative cases against those who help you get this post?
I won't have any qualms. I would file it based on evidence and facts presented. Just like what I did in the Ilocos 6 paper, I was about to be imprisoned then. But then again, I said to myself, I'm a magistrate. And to quote an old English rule, let justice be done, though the heavens fall.
Although the difference here would be these persons were instrumental in the
over and above it, Your Honor. I think they would know that I'm coming in from the right angle.
So, last question, Justice Chair. If ever appointed to this post, what significant development in your life would make you decide to quit the ombudsman post?
Significant, Your Honor?
Yeah, anything that would let you or make you decide, I will not finish my term, my 7 years.
I could not think of any. I want to finish the term. And after that, I'll retire in peace.
That will be all. Justice, thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Your Honor.